you mind giving maybe just a little bit of background about yourself, like where you grew up, where you
Yeah,
went to school, and what you studied?
yeah, sure. Yeah, so I grew up in upstate New York, in the Berkshire Mountain area, which is right on the border with Massachusetts.
Mhm.
Um, the Vermont Green Mountains are just north of me. Appalachian Trail, which I think probably most people have heard about, passed by within about 5 miles of my house. So if I wanted to go hiking, I could.
Wow.
Very nice, a very nice area to grow up. So I grew up there, and I went to Syracuse University for my undergraduate degree in forestry engineering or forest engineering. And that's where I first got my background and got interested in environmental issues. I mean, this is a long time ago. This is 1969. So when I was there, started my degree, and there was a lot of interest at that time in environmental issues, ecology, and so on. And of course, Earth Day was April 1970. So the youth movement at that time was big on trying to preserve the environment. And Lake Erie was a big issue because Lake Erie was polluted, and we're talking about like going basically dead, you know,
Mm.
in the not too distant future. So there was a lot of environmental activism. So I was involved in, um, I was influenced by all that. And of course, there was the anti-Vietnam War stuff going on too at the same time. But it was during my undergraduate degree in forest engineering that I took my first hydrology course, and that's what really caught my interest. Through the advice of one of my teachers there at Syracuse, I was guided to go to Cornell University for my master's degree in civil engineering in hydrology. And that's what I did my master's in. And then for my PhD at Cornell, I went and my emphasis or major was in agricultural engineering. And so again, it was all about hydrology. So, and water resources management, water quality, all those kinds of things. So,
Mhm.
and graduated from there in 1979 and went on to took a faculty position at Texas A&M as an assistant professor and the agricultural engineering department there. And I was there for 6 years and decided I wanted to move back north. So I found a position here in Minnesota and was hired to come here to Minnesota. I've been here then the rest of my career. So I've been here 34 years.
Wow.
I came here in the Department of Agricultural Engineering, and now it's called Bioproducts and Biosystems Engineering.
So kind of going off, you're talking about what you're doing right now. I saw on the Minnesota website that you're developing models for simulation and prediction of like hydraulic processes. Um, Maybe you could talk about what that looks like and what all that entails.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my academic or I guess my scientific interest, the intellectual interest, has been related to understanding hydrological processes. Where does the water go? How fast does it go? What pathways is it taking to get there? And this is the interest there is at multiple, not just at the scale of, let's say, the world, but the scale of what happens in an individual pore in the soil, or what happens in the xylem or phloem in a plant. Those kind of things that are interest to me. Obviously, you can only work on so much, but the actual processes that are involved in the movement of water and storage of water, the basic status of water in the environment. Both, I'm mostly interested in the quantity, but the quality, of course, is really important as well. And these, like I said before, can be anywhere from looking at what's happening in individual soil pore all the way to looking at what's happening at the scale of something at upper Mississippi River Basin. So, I mean, it's all, just gets me enthusiastic thinking about all the opportunities to look at these things. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
You said you've been in this industry since like 1970. How would you say the industry has changed from when you started up until this point?
Well, I think that the advancements in computer technology has made a big difference. In 1970, hardly anybody used a computer. When I was an undergraduate at Syracuse, we had some, adding machines that you could use, and there were large, there was IBM computer on the campus, but you had to type these cards to program it and so on like that. It was not a simple thing to do, and it had very limited capacity to do calculations. And now you can take your telephone, or you can, the computer I'm looking at right now has, I don't know how many times more capability than that same machine that I had at Syracuse. So that's one area that has changed a lot. And because of all that and the acceleration of the number of studies that have been done, really good studies to clarify our understanding of hydrological processes, improve our understanding about uncertainty or probability of events and so on like that. That has just, it's actually almost overwhelming how much more we have to work with. So just the improvement of the understanding is just really, it's hard to keep up with, but it has really made it much better for us to be able to predict what could happen. So whether it's prediction of floods, prediction of droughts, having satellites to be able to help us to understand the status of water in the environment at different scales, different spatial scales, just is something that wouldn't have been possible before.
Great. So kind of going off that, one final question. What advice would you give to students who are looking to get into this industry now and who might be taking the seminar this spring?
Well, if they're already interested in it, then, my advice would be to read as much as you can about water. There's a lot of really interesting books that have been written by non-scientists. They might be reporters for a magazine, newspaper, or something like that, about water crises that have occurred around the world. Not necessarily crises occurring here in the United States, but there have been some. But in other places around the world, where groundwater is in a crisis right now. You're in Nebraska. You're right there. The Ogallala Aquifer is underneath you, and major aquifers around the world are in danger of being overused. And groundwater is the largest source of unfrozen fresh water that we have, compared to surface water, which is just a tiny component of our freshwater resources. So I think it's good to read some of these books because they're easy read and they do give you some push to give you interest in doing something about it. Then I would also suggest that they that go to seminars and take courses, of course, on subjects that relate to different aspects of water, and that could be water management or agricultural production, which is the largest consumptive use of water that we have in the world. Um, but I mean, I think it would be good for them to take some courses that would relate to the different aspects of water management. So they could be ones that have to do with agricultural water use. They could be some that would deal with the control of stormwater in urban or suburban developing areas and things like that. They might relate to how do you treat wastewater so that you can reuse it. So it's up to the students' imagination as to what they would want to do with this. And I think that there's just so many opportunities to work on things. And the nice thing is that there's a connection between this scientific study and professional work and let's say just the enjoyment in the environment. So that's, I think, really what intrigued me and got me interested in it, was because I could say, oh, I can do the work and I can also feel like I'm in nature at the same time. You know, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, really, that's some great advice. I feel like I'm pretty similar to you in the fact I'm studying civil engineering too. So, and I love being in nature and being outside. And I feel like it's a great way to incorporate that into your life. So,
I mean, I know that usually the jobs don't end up being out there in the field. I mean, usually you're in the office a lot, but you do get to go out and look at things in the field. And, that's you know, really a nice aspect of it.
Well, great. That's all kind of the questions I have, but just want to say thank you for taking the time to do this. I know we're really looking forward to you coming this. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to coming down.
All right.
All right, Gabrielle.
All right. Thank you very much.
Take care. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.